Ever feel like life's kind of, rigged? Like you're playing by the rules, working hard, and then bam, someone else seems to get ahead without even breaking a sweat.
Yeah, that's a pretty universal feeling, isn't it?
Totally. And it's not just me, right? This whole idea of fairness, of getting what you deserve, it's kind of at the heart of today's deep dive. We're tackling the parable of the workers in the vineyard.
Ah, yes. The one where everyone gets paid the same no matter when they started working. It's a head scratcher for sure.
Big time. I mean, on the surface, it seems to go against everything we're taught about hard work and reward. You shared some fascinating analysis that goes way deeper than just wages, though.
It's a parable that sparked debate for centuries,
Yeah.
probably because it seems so counterintuitive to our sense of fairness.
Right. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, can you remind us what happens in this parable?
Absolutely. So picture this. A landowner needs workers for his vineyard. He goes out early in the morning, hires a group of guys, agrees on a fair wage, all above board so far.
Okay. Typical workday stuff.
Right. But then, throughout the day, he keeps going back and hiring more workers. Like even an hour before quitting time, he's still rounded up, folks.
Wait, so he's just like picking people up off the street at random times?
Pretty much. And here's where things get interesting. When it comes time to pay up, he tells his foreman to pay everyone a full day's wage, regardless of how many hours they actually worked.
Oh boy, I can see where this is going. Cue the outrage.
Exactly. Those who started early were fuming. They felt totally ripped off, like their hard work meant nothing.
Hmm.
And, on a human level, it's hard to blame them, right?
Right. It's like, hold on, I've been sweating out here all day, and you're giving this guy who just strolled in the same amount.
Exactly. But that's the genius of this parable. It forces us to confront our deeply ingrained ideas about fairness, about what we think we deserve.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this. So it's not really about the money, is it? It's about something much bigger. The excerpt you provided mentioned something about God's kingdom.
Exactly. This parable isn't about vineyard economics. It's about the upside-down nature of God's grace.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
But before we dive into that, can you give us a little context? I mean, who was Jesus talking to when he told this story? What was the backdrop?
So while the disciples were definitely listening, soaking it all in, Jesus' true target audience, well, let's just say they weren't exactly known for their flexibility.
Ah, you're talking about the religious leaders of the day, right? The Pharisees, the scribes, that whole crew.
Wingo. These were people so focused on the letter of the law, on outward rituals, that they often missed the whole point. Jesus, being all about radical love and grace, used parables like this to shake things up.
So these parables weren't just nice stories, they were like subversive teaching tools.
Precisely. They had this way of concealing and revealing truth at the same time. For those genuinely seeking, they offered profound wisdom, but for those clinging to rigid interpretations,
They totally missed the boat.
exactly. They were so busy focusing on the details, they missed the heart of the matter.
A coded message for the soul. I like it. Okay, so we've got these workers grumbling about fairness, and Jesus using this parable to challenge the religious elite. What's the connection? What's the deeper message he's trying to get across?
Well, for that, we need to dig a little deeper into the historical context. You see, Jewish prayer in Jesus' time wasn't exactly spontaneous.
Okay, how so?
They had these set times throughout the day for prayer, each with specific rituals and prayers. It was less about a personal conversation with God and more about,
Following the rules.
yeah, you could say that. Imagine having an alarm going off reminding you to stop and recite specific prayers. While this structure had its place, it could also become, you know,
A little rote, like going through the motions without really feeling it.
exactly. And that's precisely what Jesus was challenging, both in prayer and through this parable. He was pushing back against this idea that we earn God's favor through mere outward actions.
Whether it's saying the right prayers or clocking in the most hours at the vineyard. Right. So are you suggesting that those grumpy workers, fixated on who worked longer?
Could represent those stuck in a spiritual rut, more concerned with outward appearances than a genuine connection with God. It's definitely possible.
Wow, okay, now it's clicking. It's like they were so busy keeping score of their own efforts, they completely missed the whole point of grace. Which, I gotta admit, is something I struggle with even today. It's like they were so busy comparing themselves to each other, they missed the whole point of the landowner's generosity.
Exactly. And, that's a trap that's all too easy to fall into, even today.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, people are measuring themselves against each other, social media, careers, you name it.
It's this constant comparison game, right?
Yeah.
And it can really mess with your head, make you feel like you're never quite enough.
Totally. You start thinking, wait, they got promoted after only a year. I've been stuck here for 5 and
And suddenly, you're doubting your own worth, your own efforts, all because you're looking at someone else's highlight reel.
it's like we've lost sight of the fact that everyone's journey is different and there's no one-size-fits-all timeline for success. Or even for that matter, what success even means.
Exactly. And that's where this parable's message of grace becomes so important. Because you see, the landowner's actions weren't about fairness in the traditional sense. It wasn't about who worked the longest hours or who seemed the most deserving on paper.
It was about something much deeper, wasn't it?
Absolutely. It was about this radical, overflowing generosity that defied all human logic.
Okay, I love that. But how do we actually live that out? You know, the excerpt you shared mentioned these practical steps for daily victorious living. And while those sound great in theory, sometimes I need like a translation guide or something.
I hear you. It's one thing to talk about grace and generosity, but putting those into practice in our daily lives, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. So let's get practical. Let's say you're at work, feeling insecure about your abilities, maybe passed over for a promotion. How do you tap into that radical grace in that moment?
I think it starts with a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing our work as the primary means of earning God's love or approval, what if we saw it as an opportunity to partner with Him?
That's an interesting way to look at it.
Right, we're invited to bring our unique gifts and talents to the table, trusting that God's grace will meet us there.
So instead of constantly comparing ourselves to the person in the next cubicle or beating ourselves up over every little mistake, we can rest in the knowledge that our worth isn't tied to our performance reviews.
Exactly, and think about how that changes the whole work dynamic.
Yeah.
It frees us up to celebrate the successes of others genuinely, without feeling threatened or envious.
It's like shifting from a scarcity mindset, that there's only so much success to go around, to an abundance mindset. There's enough grace and opportunity for everyone.
Exactly. And that abundance isn't limited to our careers, it spills over into every area of life, especially our relationships.
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy to fall into the trap of trying to earn love, trying to prove ourselves worthy. But what if we just accepted that we're already loved unconditionally?
Right, and not just loved, but fully known and accepted for who we are, flaws and all.
Which then allows us to love others more freely, more authentically, because we're not so caught up in our own insecurities and need for validation.
Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of timing. We've all been there, right? Waiting for that promotion, that relationship, that dream to finally come to fruition.
And it's in those seasons of waiting, especially, that it's so easy to get discouraged, to start comparing our timeline to everyone else's.
And that's where trust comes in. Trusting that even when things aren't happening according to our meticulously crafted plans, God is still in control.
And that his timing, while often different from our own, is always perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's really resonating with me. But when we first started talking about this parable, you mentioned that there might be even deeper truths here, even more radical implications for how we live our lives. You said this parable isn't just about personal reassurance, but
It's about a whole different way of seeing the world, one that turns our human ideas of status and reward completely upside down.
you're talking about that line at the very end, right? The last shall be first, and the first last. Every time I hear that, it's like this little earthquake in my brain.
It's supposed to be. It challenges everything we think we know
Mm.
about who deserves what, who gets ahead. It's like in God's kingdom, the rules are totally different.
So it's not just about our personal relationship with God. It's about how that relationship should change how we view and interact with the whole world.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah.
It makes us question all those categories and labels we put on people. Who's important, who's successful, who's deserving.
It's like Jesus is saying, check your assumptions at the door. Because the way you see things, it's not how I see things.
Exactly. He was constantly hanging out with the people society had written off, the poor, the sick, the outcasts, the ones who wouldn't normally get a second glance.
And he was showing through his actions and his words that in God's eyes, they were just as valuable, just as worthy of love and attention as anyone else.
It's a radical idea, even today, isn't it?
Totally. So if we're really taking this parable to heart, it should make us stop and think, who am I overlooking? Who am I excluding because of my own biases and prejudices?
Because if we're honest, we all have them, don't we? Those ingrained ways of seeing the world that can blind us to the inherent dignity and worth of every single person.
It's a humbling thought, for sure, but also incredibly hopeful. because it means that no matter where we come from, no matter what mistakes we've made, we're all invited into this circle of radical grace and love.
And not just invited, but welcomed with open arms.
Wow. Okay, I think we've covered some serious ground here today. As we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this exploration of the parable of the workers?
I hope they hear this. God's grace isn't some limited resource, carefully rationed out based on our performance. It's a limitless ocean, freely available to everyone no matter what.
And that realization, that understanding of God's extravagant, overflowing generosity, it changes everything, doesn't it? It changes how we see ourselves, how we treat others, how we move through the world.
It's a total paradigm shift. And it's not always easy, but it's a journey worth taking.
So well said. Listener, as you go about your day, I hope you'll ponder this. Where are you experiencing God's grace in those unexpected, maybe even hidden places? And how can you be a conduit of that same grace to those around you?
Because the world needs more grace givers, don't you think? People who are willing to look beyond the surface, to see the heart, to love without conditions or expectations.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this incredible deep dive into the parable of the workers in the vineyard. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep sharing that radical grace with the world.